All right, welcome everyone. Ready for a deep dive today?
Absolutely. Always ready to dive in.
Great. So today we're going to take a look at Tom Cruise.
Oh, interesting. A true Hollywood icon.
Right. I mean, whether you love him, you hate him, you've definitely got an opinion about him.
Yeah, he's one of those figures who just commands attention.
Definitely. And his career, it's fascinating. Like, this guy's been a major star for, 4 decades now?
It's incredible, really, the longevity he's managed to achieve in an industry that's so notoriously fickle.
Totally. And today, we're going to try to unpack how he's done it.
Sounds like a plan.
So we're going to start at the beginning. Back in Syracuse, New York, 1962, little Tommy Cruise is born.
Not exactly the Hollywood Hills, is it?
No, not at all. And his childhood, let's just say it wasn't easy. I mean, there was poverty. His dad's job, he's an electrical engineer, I think, meant they moved around a lot.
Right. A lot of instability, disruption to his education. You can imagine that taking a toll.
Yeah, it must have been tough. And get this, Cruise actually had dyslexia.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's a huge challenge, especially for an actor who needs to memorize lines, work with scripts.
It's crazy, right? Talk about overcoming obstacles. It really speaks to his determination, even early on.
Absolutely. That kind of resilience, it's got to be foundational to who he is.
I think you're right. And so we have young Tom. He's battling dyslexia, bouncing around different schools, and then he decides he wants to be a priest.
Really? A priest?
Yeah. He actually spent a year at a Franciscan seminary. Can you picture it? Father Tom Cruise giving sermons.
That's wild. It's like a completely different path.
I know, right? But maybe I don't know, maybe it shows something about him. Always kind of willing to take a risk, a leap into the unknown.
Maybe. I mean, it's certainly an interesting twist in his story.
Definitely is. But then something else happens. High school, he's in a production of Guys and Dolls, and boom, the acting bug bites him hard.
So, bye-bye priesthood, hello Hollywood.
Exactly. He heads to New York City, ready to make it big.
Which is never easy, of course.
Oh, absolutely not. It's a grind. I mean, he's working odd jobs, going to audition after audition, facing rejection, just like every other aspiring actor.
Paying his dues.
Exactly. But then, in 1981, he gets a small part in the movie Endless Love. That's a start.
And that same year, he's in TAPS, the military school drama.
You got it. That's where people really started to notice him. He had a presence, something special that stood out.
A star in the making.
And then, 2 years later, it happens. Risky Business.
Oh, yeah, that iconic underwear scene.
I mean, who hasn't tried to recreate that dance at some point in their life? But Risky Business, it did more than just give us that great scene. It really launched his career.
Right. It showed he could handle more than just teen heartthrob roles. There was a depth there, some real acting chops.
Yeah, the movie had this theme of ambition, taking risks, which kind of mirrored Cruise's own life at that point.
It was a gamble for him, just like his character in the film, and it paid off big time. He showed he could carry a movie, attract a wide audience.
Absolutely. And then came 1986, Top Gun.
The movie that made him a global superstar.
I mean, box office smash, everyone wanted to be Maverick. The Navy recruitment booths were probably overrun.
It was a phenomenon.
It really was. But here's the thing. With a role like that, it would have been easy to get typecast, stuck in that action hero mold.
You'd think so. But Cruise, he's smart. He made some interesting choices after Top Gun.
He did, almost like he went through this serious actor phase. In 1988, he stars in Rain Man, plays Charlie Babbitt, this kind of selfish guy who finds out he has an autistic brother.
And he got his first Oscar nomination for that role, right?
Yep. Total departure from Maverick, showed a totally different side of him as an actor.
He wasn't afraid to take risks, to stretch himself.
No, not at all.
Okay.
And then just a year later, he does Born on the 4th of July.
Oh, yeah. Playing Ron Kovich, the Vietnam vet who becomes an anti-war activist.
And he transforms himself for that role. Like, physically, emotionally, you really believe he's Ron Kovich. Gets another Oscar nomination for that one, too.
Those two films back to back, it was like a statement. He was showing everyone he was serious about acting, not just about being a blockbuster star.
And then in 1992, he does A Few Good Men. That courtroom scene with Jack Nicholson.
Oh, intense.
Talk about acting magic. He goes toe-to-toe with Nicholson and holds his own. It's another box office hit. He's proving he can do it all.
Critical acclaim, A&D commercial success. He's got the formula.
He does, but here's where it gets interesting. He doesn't just bounce back and forth between action and drama. He starts weaving them together, and that's where we get Mission Impossible in 1996.
Which becomes this massive franchise. But it's not just any action series, right? It's got Cruise's fingerprints all over it.
Exactly. He's involved in every aspect, and one of the things that makes Mission Impossible so unique is his commitment to doing his own stunts. And I'm not talking about just like jumping over a small fence.
We're talking death-defying, insane stunts.
Seriously. He scales the Burj Khalifa in Ghost Protocol, the tallest building in the world.
Like he's actually climbing it, not some CGI trickery.
Nope, that's all him. And then he hangs off an airplane during takeoff in Rogue Nation.
And then there's the halo jump he doesn't fall out. Like a real halo jump from 25,000 feet.
It's like he's trying to one-up himself with every movie. And I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that need for control. It's not just about the thrill for him, it's about pushing boundaries, creating this experience that no one else can deliver.
Yeah, it's become a signature of the Mission Impossible franchise. It's what sets it apart. But we should probably mention that his career is not all explosions and car chases.
Oh, you're right. He's done some amazing work in films that people might not even realize are Tom Cruise movies.
And these roles, they often seem to come at just the right time. Like a reminder that he's more than just an action star.
Exactly. Like in 1996, same year as the first Mission Impossible, he also does Jerry Maguire.
Show me the money.
Right. Everyone remembers that line. But he's also incredible in that movie, playing this sports agent who's wrestling with his conscience, trying to figure out what really matters.
And he gets another Oscar nomination for that one.
He does. And then there's Magnolia in 1999. He plays this really intense, messed up motivational speaker.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That one's dark. Stays with you.
It does. And then The Last Samurai in 2003. He's completely immersed in that role, this American soldier in Japan. Beautiful film.
He really seems to disappear into these roles, doesn't he?
He does. And I think it's a conscious choice. He doesn't want to get pigeonholed. Always trying to keep people guessing, keep himself challenged.
Smart move in a business like Hollywood. But, you know, we've talked a lot about his work, his career, but we can't really ignore the elephant in the room, can we?
You're talking about his personal life.
Yeah, it's a big part of his story, and not always in a good way. I mean, 3 high-profile marriages, Mimi Rogers, Nicole Kidman, Katie Holmes, and, of course, his very public devotion to Scientology.
It's definitely part of the Tom Cruise puzzle, and it's generated a lot of controversy, a lot of headlines, but you know what? We're going to dive into all of that in part 2.
Sounds good to me. We'll unpack the complexities of Tom Cruise's life beyond the screen.
Stay tuned, folks. It's about to get interesting.
So, where were we? Oh, yeah, the elephant in the room, Tom Cruise's personal life.
Can't really talk about Tom Cruise without going there, can we? It's almost as much a part of his persona as, well, Ethan Hunt.
Exactly. It's like this inescapable element of his story.
And it's definitely been complicated, to say the least.
3 very public marriages, all ending in divorce.
First, Mimi Rogers back in the late 80s. Then, of course, Nicole Kidman.
That one was huge, Hollywood power couple. Lasted for quite a while.
Yeah, over a decade. And then Katie Holmes, which seemed to come out of nowhere.
And ended just as quickly.
It's like each one was this major media event. The tabloids had a field day.
And of course, running through it all, there's the Scientology thing.
Right. His very public, some might say unwavering, commitment to Scientology.
Which has definitely been controversial.
To put it mildly, I mean, it's attracted a lot of scrutiny, a lot of criticism.
And it's definitely impacted public perception of him.
For sure. Some people, it's all they can see. Tom Cruise equals Scientology, and that's it.
Right. It overshadows everything else.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a shame because, as we talked about in part 1, he's such a talented actor. He's had such an incredible career.
Yeah, it's like this weird paradox. His personal life, it's often seen as a negative, a liability.
But at the same time, it keeps him in the spotlight. It's part of what makes him, well, Tom Cruise.
I guess it's all part of the package. You can't really separate one from the other.
It's the Tom Cruise brand, for better or for worse.
Exactly. But you know what? Even with all the drama, all the controversy, he still managed to stay at the top of his game for an incredibly long time.
It's remarkable, really. Most actors, they peak, they fade, they kind of disappear.
But Cruise, he just keeps going. He's like the Energizer Bunny of Hollywood.
And I think it comes down to a few things. One, he's incredibly disciplined, dedicated to his craft.
Oh yeah, we talked about that earlier. The guy's a workhorse.
2, he's smart about his career choices. He picks projects that showcase his strengths.
And let's be honest, he's got an incredible ability to pick winners. Top Gun, Mission Impossible, these are huge franchises.
And 3, I think he understands the power of image. He cultivates this persona, this mystique.
He's always in control.
Exactly. And it works. It keeps people interested, keeps them talking.
It does. So I guess the question is, how long can he keep it up?
Well, he's not getting any younger.
That's true. And Hollywood, it can be pretty brutal on aging actors, especially male actors.
Especially ones who've built their careers on action and physicality.
Right. Like how many more times can he jump out of a plane, hang off a building before it starts to look, I don't know, a little ridiculous?
There's got to be a limit, right? Even for Tom Cruise.
Maybe. But you know what? I wouldn't bet against him.
He's defied the odds before.
He has. So we've talked a lot about the negatives, the controversies, the challenges. But before we wrap up, I think it's important to point out that there's another side to Tom Cruise.
Oh, yeah.
A side that often gets overlooked amidst all the headlines and the gossip.
What are you thinking of?
His philanthropy.
Oh, right. He does do quite a bit of charity work, doesn't he?
He does. And it's not just about writing checks. He's actually involved. He puts in the time.
Interesting. I guess that's something we should explore a bit further.
Absolutely. Because it's a really important part of understanding who Tom Cruise is beyond all the Hollywood stuff. So we've spent the last 2 parts of our deep dive really digging into the career, the life, the controversies, I guess you could say, of Tom Cruise.
It's been quite a ride.
It has been, yeah. But, amidst all the blockbuster movies, the crazy stunts, the personal drama, there's another side to him that often gets overlooked.
You're talking about his charity work.
Exactly. His philanthropy. It's a really significant part of his life, and I think it says a lot about who he is beyond all the Hollywood stuff.
Yeah, okay. I'm curious to hear more about this.
Well, one of the organizations he's been most closely associated with is the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Oh, wow. That's a great cause.
It is. And he's not just a spokesperson, showing up for photo ops. He really gets involved, spends time with the kids, makes their wishes come true.
That's awesome.
It is. There are tons of stories about him going above and beyond, like taking kids on helicopter rides, arranging private movie screenings, even visiting them on set.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
It is. He seems to really understand the power of making that personal connection, creating these lasting memories for these families who are going through so much.
It's definitely a different side of him than what we usually see in the media.
Right. And it's not just Make-A-Wish. He's also been really active in disaster relief efforts.
Oh, like what?
Well, for example, after Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, he was one of the first to step up, donated a ton of money, even visited the affected areas.
That's interesting. It's almost like you have this guy who's so known for his intensity, his drive, his control, but then he also has this capacity for real compassion, for wanting to help others who are suffering.
It's true. It's like this other dimension to his personality. And, it makes you wonder if this is part of his legacy, too.
What do you mean?
Well, we've talked about how he's so meticulous about his career, about building this image, achieving this level of success that few can match. Maybe this desire to leave a mark extends beyond just filmmaking,
Like he wants to make a positive impact on the world, something that goes beyond box office numbers and awards.
Exactly. It's like maybe he's trying to balance the scales, counteract the potential negatives of fame and fortune with genuine acts of kindness.
That's a thought-provoking idea.
I know, right? It adds another layer to this whole Tom Cruise puzzle.
It definitely does.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think we're left with a much more nuanced picture of Tom Cruise than what you usually get from the headlines.
For sure. It's been really interesting to explore all these different facets of his life.
He's an incredibly talented actor, a savvy businessman, a daredevil stuntman, a controversial figure, but also someone who genuinely seems to care about making a positive difference in the world.
And it's that complexity, that mix of contradictions that makes him so fascinating, I think.
I agree. He's a reminder that people are complicated. We can't always be neatly categorized. We contain multitudes, as they say.
Well said.
So there you have it, folks. Tom Cruise. More than just Maverick, more than just Ethan Hunt. He's a force to be reckoned with, and his story is far from over.
And who knows what the next chapter will hold.
Only time will tell. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.